This is Sexy Funny Raw, where we chat all about the world of sex, from dating and relationships all the way to the adult industry itself. I'm Silvia Saige, and this is my Pornspective, answering all the questions you weren't even brave enough to ask Google. Get ready, because Sexy Funny Raw starts now. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of Sexy Funny Raw. I am your host, Silvia Saige, joined in studio with my co-host, Dr. Eddie, giving us his public health perspective. Thank you, Dr. Eddie. And you guys, in studio this month, I am very happy to welcome back the very talented, the very handsome. I don't know where I was going with that. My words are all thrown off.
The very happy?
I know, that's what it is. The happy, healthy, handsome Adam Ramzi, everyone. Welcome
Hi,
to
everybody.
the studio.
Thanks for having me back.
I just get so flustered around very handsome men. I cannot spit out my words. So let's talk about that, because what we are talking about is dating inside and outside of the industry and how we cope with that. If you are dating inside or outside of the industry, you had mentioned earlier you've kind of had, well, no, you haven't really had both, because you haven't dated someone that started as a performer.
That's correct. I have not dated specifically somebody who I met in the industry, and we were both performers and then started dating. The couple of experiences I have had is people I've dated who, during our time together, they decided they wanted to kind of enter that world and, do their own thing with it.
So let me ask then, when you met these people, do you think they already knew, or did you tell them right away? How did that introduction go?
Already knew about me?
Yeah, and what you did for a living.
Yes, I think so, because at both times I was at a different point in my career, but I was never really shy about it, and I think I was definitely out there. So they did know. The most recent significant relationship I had was with someone who I was with for 3 years, and now we're very good friends. But at the beginning, he kind of had like a little bit of he had a little bit of reservation and a little bit of judgment about it. But I think it came from a place really of intrigue. I think he was really on some level like maybe a little jealous that I had that and he did not.
The freedom or the...
Just the freedom, and also just the access. Like, I think, there's a mystique to it. There's a mystique to being in adult films. And like if he's doing some research and sees that I've like... I think
with someone
that he's jacked off to in the past. And, kind of made him sort of be like, well, I want to know what that's like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, were you open in your relationship before he joined the industry, or were you very closed off and then kind of were like, well...
Do you mean like monogamy versus non-monogamy?
Yes.
Yes. So... And this is where this is going to be an interesting part of this conversation because I feel like you're going to educate me a little bit about what it's like dating in the straight world as a performer and not as a performer. Because for me, I'm at this funny place in my adulthood where I'm like sick of the normative model, and I don't understand it when, especially in queer relationships, when people allow certain ideals and values to take front and center. I don't really understand double standards. I don't really understand super duper jealous like members of a partnership. And I understand that jealousy, I can recall the last episodes, feelings are messages, not facts. I do not reject jealousy as a general emotion. I think it's an opportunity to look deeper at what it is we're actually feeling and why. But also, it's 2023, y'all.
Yeah.
Get your shit together.
Yeah.
If you're a queer person, a queer male watching this, get your shit together. All right? The whole point of being queer is rejecting the normative model.
Yeah.
Stop being jealous. Let your partner do your thing. Talk about it. Communicate. Be respectful.
Yeah.
There.
No,
rant.
I love that. And I don't think I think all people out there, don't just make it to the gay men out there. Please put it to the straight men also, because you're right. It is wildly different on the straight side, because women are expected to have this, like virginal aspect to them, and you can be sexual, but you can't be overtly sexual, so me having this porn star branding, it makes me like you were talking, it kind of puts me in this this little shiny box for people, but nobody wants to open the box because it's not a real item. I'm not a real person. I'm not a real individual to these people. I'm just this shiny object of attraction for these people, but I'm not necessarily a whole human that they would take home.
How does that feel for you? That's got to be tough.
It is shit. I'm writing a comedy special to deal with the whole thing, and I will be addressing to the whole world how I am viewed as a person and kind of what that's done to me as a person. Yeah. So.
And I mean, I'm sure it's really complicated for you as well, because I'm sure if you were to share that with somebody of a lesser mind, lesser evolved perspective might be like, well, you kind of did that yourself.
Yes,
you don't have to maintain this kind of upkeep if you don't want to.
Right.
Which I completely reject and think is totally horrible. Yeah. But I'm sure you deal with it sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, 1,000%. And you're right, exactly that. Of well, you did this to yourself. You didn't have to do this because I do have a college education. I didn't come into the porn world as this poor decrepit little person. Please help me. I came in with a plan, and this was always a financial plan for me to back up my comedy career. It was done with intelligence. It wasn't done out of necessity. I mean, there were certain points that were very down in my life, but pornography certainly brought me out of that. I accredit the best parts of my personality to pornography, and the rest of the world associates the most negative things with my porn career. So it's a very interesting place to be, but that's why I don't really date.
You don't date?
No, I really haven't dated since being in the industry, because when I meet people, they think they can handle what this is, and then they get into it. And I've even had guys where I've seen them after a scene, I've gone to their house after I've shot, and they didn't want to kiss me, and I thought, it's not like I haven't showered, I haven't brushed my teeth, I haven't done all the things, but because somebody else's penis was in my mouth within 24 hours, you don't even want to come close to my face, or not wanting to introduce me to their parents or things of that nature, so it definitely is just a place where I feel it's almost better if I don't try until I am out of the industry, because I feel like it's just such a scarlet letter that it just doesn't allow me to be in a happy place with a partner.
That's so unfair.
And there are really successful relationships of people that are in adult films, whether their partner is in or out. Yeah. There's still a lot of relationships that do work.
Yeah, and I do see those, and I think it's beautiful. I just don't know how you get there.
Sure.
Well, my experience is on the gay side of things, and I feel like it's I've certainly seen relationships that are successful, but kind of addled with drama. And, and I mean, I always refer to, do you guys watch Rick and Morty? Have you ever heard?
Of course, yeah.
I love Rick and Morty.
Yeah, same.
And there's this one episode where they visit a couples counseling planet.
Yeah.
And Rick is saying something like, it's totally successful. They can even save a marriage between a porn star and a porn star. And I thought that was such a funny read. Do you think you could date someone in the industry?
I have tried that also.
Talk to me. I want to hear about this.
Yeah, I have tried it, and I think the one that I'm thinking about, which was the most recent, it only kind of dissipated because he was just he was moving out of state and kind of just wanted to travel. But I did find that even that was hard, just because we both worked a lot, and I am very cautious when it comes to testing myself. I truly like to test in between every partner. It doesn't always work out that way, but I just prefer it. Yeah. And we were dealing with a lot of, well, I have to work this day. Well, I have to work this day. Well, then I can go test on this day, and I can test this day. And then, he got a negative, a false positive, basically. He was like, oh, we were on our way to dinner, and he was like, I got chlamydia. And I was like, oh man. He found out the next day he didn't get chlamydia, but that ruined our night together because we
Yeah.
couldn't be intimate because here we are thinking he has an STI. And so it was just a lot of those things of like, how do we actually spend intimate time together? And then you're also like, should we film it, put it on our OnlyFans, or should we just have this moment, the two of us,
Yeah.
and not turn on a camera?
Right.
So it was a lot of those variables that kind of got in the way of like making it a fun relationship, which I think that happens in my other relationships as well, as they're like, well, how many times have you worked this week? You know, like, and I'm like, it's not the same though. Cause for me, work is like going to the gym. It's a workout. It is
Yeah.
hard work. It's on not soft surfaces. And you know, like it's just not fun for me, as opposed to
Right.
real sex is real sex.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the difference between getting like, you know, an appetizer walking through the buffet, you know, like it's just a different meal I'm sitting down to have.
Do you still have like intimate at home off camera sex? No. See, that's something that I've always tried to avoid. Is
Yeah.
like I've been very careful with my relationship to porn because I didn't want it to affect my relationship with sex.
It is 1,000% affected.
But do you find that there's like a less drive for sex outside?
I have no
of
drive for
working?
sex. None.
Oh, that's tough.
that's
that
tough.
breaks my heart.
Well, that's just a message.
Yeah, no, I do still have a drive for sex. I actually have less of a drive for romance. I miss it.
Oh.
I miss it. I still, you know, but I compare like myself now to when I was in my 20s when like, I mean, my version of beer goggles was like the illusion of romantic possibility. Now that shit is out the window. Like like somebody you were telling us earlier how you like miss somebody asking you to
Yeah,
dinner rather than
yeah.
just texting you and within 5 texts wants to fuck.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite where I'm kind of like, dinner? Don't you want to like, well, don't you want to get down and then see if we want to have dinner? Like,
See if
like,
we're even
you know
hungry
what I mean?
afterwards?
Yeah, like, you know, dinner could be the treat after.
Oh my God.
But like my podcast co-host Cole Connor, he talks about this a lot. Where like the last couple times he's dated, it's always with somebody who thinks they're okay,
Yes.
and says they are, but does kind of pull stuff like this where they
Yeah.
kind of get deep in their head, and anytime it's time for intimate time, they're like, well, you just like had sex all week with
Yeah.
like these really hot guys, and
Or I think the thing that upsets me the most, and you might also have this, is
Yeah.
are these people willing to introduce you to their families? Because that is like the biggest hangout for people that I date is, will they introduce me to
My
their
mother would
friends
love
and
you.
family?
And my dad would love both of you.
But that's a big thing is like, you know, I've met some of the friends of other people, but even when I've met friends, I almost feel like a trophy on their arm and not their girlfriend. I almost feel like they're introducing me as, this is Silvia Saige, you know?
so
And
you think
like-
it's because of your porn career, not because you are a goddess? Because I mean, there's that too.
It's felt because of my porn career.
Okay.
That's how it's felt to me. And because there hasn't been the family aspect of like, I would love for you to meet my mom. I would love for you to meet my dad.
Well, but you're
or
also
whatever that is.
suggesting, or you also suggested previously, that they're not willing to open the little box.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're not seeing someone as a complete human,
Yeah.
and they're only that, then it becomes problematic, and not seeing the whole person.
Yeah.
And that holism isn't something that pornography is known for.
Yeah.
Right? Especially because of the content that's often being created. We see like two-dimensional kind of situations, and that's the expectation. And the same way that young men are growing up in an environment where they're not learning about sex except through porn, the expectation is within 4 minutes you're getting a blowjob.
Yeah.
Right? And so
Yeah.
all of those things create an environment where no one is willing to even consider that the box is more complex. and
Yeah.
that if you open it, there's like this beautiful diamond inside.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
For all of you.
Hypothetically, if I may challenge
Yeah.
you for a moment,
Okay.
based on what we have discussed so far, what you said about the issue you had with the one time you were dating somebody in the industry
Yeah.
versus the few times you have outside, those sounded like fairly solvable problems. Like, I know they're complex and sometimes frustrating.
Yeah.
But like, I wonder if like we can if you can meet somebody in the industry who is able to keep his ego in check,
Right.
and you guys were able to like schedule things a little differently.
Yeah.
Is it possible that you could like maybe date someone who like gets what you're going through.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an option. I've thought about it. I mean, that's why I have dated the few people in the industry that I have tried to do, because I thought, well, these would be the people who would understand.
Yeah.
These are the people who know that it is a job and I am going to work, and it's not the mental connection isn't the same, you know? And I think you almost have to be a performer to understand that to the complete and total extent that it is.
Right.
So that was my thought process, was like someone who understands it, somebody who gets it.
Are they nice straight guys in the industry?
There's a few.
Okay, there's a few.
Well, you were saying ones that could understand what you're going through. Like all of a sudden I was like looking at population size and it was getting very small.
Yeah.
Every time you were mentioning a new category.
Yeah. Well, that's how I feel. Like, I feel like, because, I do, when I go online, people are like, what are you looking for in a man? I'm like, oh my God, so many things. But that's exactly it, is I do want the checklist, and I'm so happy being alone that if I don't have the checklist, and it's like, what is...
But that becomes like an
point?
unrealistic expectation where you're not willing to do the work to maybe overcome some of those things, right? Because they're not all positive or negative, right? They just are.
Yeah.
And so, sometimes it takes a little bit of work for you to like, happiness doesn't just happen and Prince Charming doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Other than you, of course.
Well, thank you. I mean, well, this is where I feel like this is kind of maybe an unpopular opinion at this point, but I feel like this is where we're headed. I think fluidity is kind of the future.
Yeah.
And like,
I hope so.
And I don't think happiness does rest anymore on finding that one, you know what I mean?
Absurd notion.
Well, yes, but it's what we've been taught for centuries.
Yeah.
And like
Disney's been pounding us with decades.
Yeah.
Right.
I would rather
Prince
be pounding
Charming.
something else more often than not. And I feel like I am trying to focus a little bit more on like cultivating really nice friendships.
Yeah.
Some of them sexual, some of them not.
Yeah.
I feel like this is where I'm curious about your experience as in the heterosexual world, because I feel like it's more frowned upon there than it is here to experience life and connection that way.
Yeah.
Like I don't, and this is not me being cynical at all, I promise. Like, this is actually me kind of, when you were saying that you're really happy being alone, I feel the same.
Yeah.
I enjoy dating, and I've had some really good times in my relationships, but when I break up, I'm like, oh,
I get in better shape.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
like,
I've got so much free time.
yes,
I can take
I'm
naps.
myself again. I like myself better when I'm
Love myself.
single.
Same.
You know?
I think when I get into a relationship, you mentioned the word jealousy earlier. I am an insanely jealous human in a relationship. I don't even mean to be. I just get to the point where I'm one of those people where I'm like, do you still like me? you don't hate me yet, right? Like you still want to be with me? So I think for me in a relationship, I see a lot of ugly qualities come out in a relationship, and I'm like, oh my gosh, but I'm so much stronger and more confident alone, and I dance in my kitchen and sing in my kitchen alone, and I'm like, I remember an ex saying this to me when he was at my house. He said, I want you to have your morning the way that you would have it. But I couldn't, because I can't have my morning the way I'm going to have it when you're there, because you're here. I want to be dancing and singing and smoking pot for the first 2 hours and not really doing shit. And you're going to judge me because I haven't showered yet, So.
Did you see that meme that was going around about Whoopi Goldberg's response to why she's not married?
No.
She said something like, I don't want someone in my damn house.
Oh, right.
I love that so much.
Well, I have said if I did find somebody, we would have wings of the house.
For sure.
Like, I want my own bathroom, my own bedroom, like all that good stuff. Yeah. I don't wake up like this, okay?
I mean, you look pretty good at all times.
Yeah.
Do you think that this deviation from intimacy and the emotional aspects of it is something that's happening like on a larger scale, or is it because of your unique your unique position in the adult film industry that
I would love to know that too, because you
creates an environment where open in the gay community? Certainly, it's becoming much more common. In the heterosexual community, perhaps a lot less, but it's still more common than it used to be.
Yeah.
And so, is there a place where that shift occurs for you?
The way I'm going to answer this is I don't feel like I'm deviating from emotional intimacy. I think I'm deviating from these relationship models that no longer serve me.
Sure.
I feel like I have plenty of emotional intimacy. Sometimes it doesn't last beyond 1 or 2 fuck dates, but like I feel like sex is a wonderful way to get to know somebody.
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
I'm
like
a first date sex kind of girl, and people really judge me for that.
Yeah, they do.
Yes.
Well, fuck 'em.
What the hell? Get your shit together, people.
It's common in the gay community for sure.
Yeah.
You don't go on a first date until that's happened.
Yeah.
And and I feel like I have heard that in the past when they're like, if she's a first date sex kind of girl, she's not marriage material.
Yes.
Well, but those
Boo.
weird constructs that are related to like the Puritan religious background of the country.
Yes. I feel like the shift, we're like mid-shift.
Yeah.
The perspective is changing. I remember going to the Eagle in San Francisco a few years ago and being there early for like a work session and like a go-go shift or something.
Yeah.
And I saw these two couples come in, straight, young. You could tell they were like 21. And they were just like drinking and having fun. They were dancing. They were cute. And then like one couple, they're the straight couples, they start making out with each other. And then I realized that they switched couples where like the guy was now making out with the other girl. And the other guy was they start making out with each other. And then the girls started making out with each other. And the guys started making out with each other. And I was so proud.
Yes.
I was like, if that's the future,
I love it.
We're doing okay.
Yeah.
I hope it is. I know it was San Francisco, and San Francisco's a little ahead, and they're all sluts there.
Yeah. I also love that. And I say all the time, I think everybody's just kind of like on a Kinsey scale of sexuality anyway.
Fluid is the future.
Yeah,
That's
I get a lot
think.
of backlash for that.
I mean,
online,
society and culture play a huge role there, and so does religion in this country for sure, right?
Yeah.
Even though in a lot of places we're deviating away from religion, the U.S. is still not doing that, and so certainly right now we could argue that it's going backwards in a lot of instances.
in a lot of places.
Yeah, and so depending on where you are in the country is going to dictate a lot of these things for how you view relationships or what's even possible.
Yeah.
And so that sucks, but that's the way it is.
Yeah.
So sure, we've been fluid always. Certainly for thousands of years, that fluidity was kind of embedded into society and culture, but that's not the way society and culture works now in the U.S., right? And there's like restrictions for men and their fluidity that doesn't necessarily exist the same way for women.
Oh, 110%.
And it creates a whole bunch of individual problems there. And so even if they want to be fluid or could potentially fathom the idea of being fluid, culture and society dictate something else.
I say that
it's tied to your masculinity, at least.
Yeah, I say that all the time because, like, I have obviously licked hundreds, if not thousands, of vaginas. I personally don't consider myself a lesbian, and neither does the rest of the world. But had any straight man sucked 1,000 dicks, you'd be gay.
Sucked one dick.
Ooh, I sucked one dick, let alone 1,000. But yeah, they would be gay, but it doesn't translate the same. I'm still considered a straight woman no matter how many pussies I lick because I take dick. You know, but on the opposite, it doesn't matter how many pussies you've licked if you're a man. If you have taken dick, that label is now upon you. And
which I actually recommend that men should do.
Yeah, I mean,
for prostate health.
I agree.
There's a lot of variables that are really good for you guys.
You know, I feel like it's a prescription. Like every man should get fucked at least once. It makes you a better person.
If you're not going to get fucked, at some point or another, a physician's going to have to milk you.
Yeah.
So you might as well enjoy it.
Yeah, might as well.
Because the physician's not going to enjoy it, and you're not going to enjoy that.
You don't know. You don't know.
Well, no, that's fair. That's fair.
I do want to say that, like, you know, I'm thinking about some of the things that I've said, and, you know, I've brought up this person who was someone I was with for 3 years, and we no longer are together, but I would consider him still an emotional partner on some level. Like,
we still have a friendship.
We have a friendship that is occasionally intimate, but is like, and sexual even, but is mostly based on our enjoyment of each other's company rather than what it means to be fiancés, what it means to be boyfriends. And I feel like that is exactly what has made our relationship stronger.
Not having that label.
I'm not saying that I'm like rejecting the idea of partnership or even, you know, marriage, but I just wish that we were moving toward a place where these very constricting labels and expectations cause us to have these anxieties, like the one you were mentioning, like you were saying you get a little jealous. Yeah. Like when the girlfriend label is on you. I wonder if in the heterosexual world it could change if we just had like really sweet friendships that were like supportive and sexy.
No, but until recently we weren't like people couldn't fathom the idea of a heterosexual man and a heterosexual woman just being friends.
Friends,
Yes.
And so that wasn't even a possibility until like friends with benefits became a thing.
Yeah.
Well, and isn't it funny? I feel like there have been like, I can think of offhand 3 movies
Sure,
that
that's me too.
have been made about that conundrum,
Right.
about a straight man and a straight woman being just friends who also have sex, because it's no big deal, right?
Yeah.
They always end up falling in love by the end.
No, I mean, I've
Falling
had
in love, quotes.
so many friends with benefits, and those are some of my best relationships.
Yes.
I mean, to this day, my friends with benefits situation is like my best situation.
Yeah,
like
I think
when he
it's
got a
great.
girlfriend, I was like, man, this sucks.
Yeah.
Who am I supposed to hang out with
Yeah.
now and not date?
I think there's probably also different models work for different people.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
so
and what you're able to
we can't only
do.
push the open kind of model as the future.
Yeah.
Because that might not work for everybody. And realistically,
And
it
it
doesn't work for everybody.
That's
Well,
right.
Right? And so
Yeah.
being open to whatever's going to work for you
Yeah.
requires you to understand yourself, which is something that's difficult.
Yeah.
And be willing to do any of the work that necessitates being in those open ones.
Yeah. I think because I have such the ability to categorize sex as sex and not make it into a relationship, I think that's why I'm so good at friends with benefits. Because I remember
Yeah.
I've done the friends with benefits for years and years, and one of my buddies that we kind of did that in college, I still talk to him, and he was like, you have been the only female I've ever successfully had a friends with benefits relationship with. He was big because you can check out and just make it sex. I'm like, oh yeah, all day, every day I can check out and just make it
I think that's
sex.
an evolved perspective.
Yeah.
And do you mind if I actually go back to what you were saying about this one friends with benefit
Yeah.
relationship you had? I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, even as a gay man. What was it like? Maybe one day.
Yeah.
But what was that like for you to hear that this person got a girlfriend? Like, were you like, why wasn't that me?
No.
Okay. All right. Okay. Good. Yeah. Good.
No, and I truly, when he found a girlfriend, it was a little bit of me being like, "Aw, shucks, I won't have somebody to go and get drinks with on Sunday." But it was like, I really hope he's happy. I really want him to find somebody that he's with. And now it's weird because they're not together anymore. And now I'm like, I feel so sorry. Like, I wish that would have worked out for him. Like, I want him to be happy in a relationship because I know it's not going to be with me. And I don't.
Are you friends with benefits again?
Yes and no. We haven't started sleeping together again, but like, make out sessions and stuff like that.
Do
Okay.
either of you distinguish friends with benefits from fuck buddies?
No.
No.
I think I do.
Yeah.
Because
That like the friend component is very
the
different.
friend for me is like, he's very much a friend. Like when I got a flat
Yeah,
tire
okay.
on my car, he came and changed my tire. Like, if I have good news, he's one of the first people I call to tell my good news to. So I do see a difference between a friend
Right.
with a benefit and a fuck buddy.
Okay.
Yeah. Because a fuck buddy is like, to me, I'm thinking back to like in my 20s, like this
Yeah.
guy named Cole who would never call me after, before 2 p.m. And I was always like, yeah, come on over with that 8-inch dick. I love it. Yeah. That was a booty call. Yeah.
I mean, this is interesting. Like, I guess I haven't really thought about this before, but I like what this is doing in my brain, this question that you just asked, Dr. Reddy, because I feel like if I really think about it, this former fiance that I've been talking about a lot, he is a friend with benefits.
Yeah.
He's like a best friend with benefits, which maybe some would see as like a downgrade, but I actually see as kind of an upgrade.
Yeah.
I feel like it's really deepened our bond. But fuck buddies are people who, I mean, I consider them friends too, but it's where sex is like
is what it is.
Yeah.
it's kind of like the platform for
Sure.
which our friendship exists.
Sure.
So it's like we'll get together, we'll fool around, and then we'll be like, how are things?
Yeah.
How are your parents?
Yes.
How's work?
Yeah.
It was nice to see you.
Yeah.
Now get out.
See you next time.
Yeah. Yeah. Very
And
surface.
I love
Yeah.
those too, though.
Yeah.
Like those are fun.
Yeah.
Like,
They are fun.
I have a lot of them.
Good.
I like it. I
I'm
like
jealous.
It.
There's a
I
distinction.
need more.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so, like-
I like the distinction.
Yeah.
That's what I'm kind of pointing out.
Well, but I think all of us need to be clear on those distinctions for ourselves so
Yeah.
that we can like be a little bit self-aware of what it is that we like and what we're getting from things and being okay
Yeah.
with it. And
Yeah.
that's what's some of the benefit of what you guys do through your podcasts, both of you, is bring it to the table and talk about it so people think about it, because it's not
Yeah.
something people are walking through the park thinking about most of the time, I would
Right.
imagine. I mean, I do, but
I think the biggest takeaway from this conversation, though, is what you had said, Adam. It's just like, let your guards down, like quit putting people in these boxes and and open up, to new things. I love that idea. I really, really hope that a lot of people walk away from this conversation with at least, a little bit more like flexibility to their sexuality. I feel like sometimes people get so rigid in that, and it just gets so uncomfortable for people. And there's so much shame wrapped up in these things, and what other people might be thinking about you, what your family might be thinking about you, what your friends, what your coworkers might be thinking, and just allow people to be.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to take a lot of deprogramming. I know it sounded a little harsh. Sorry for who was listening, but I understand it. We've been programmed. We've been programmed to think that like we have to be unflexible and rigid in these, constructs. But let's work on deprogramming.
Yeah.
There's a better way to do it.
Sure,
that
but it's
feels
thousands
better
of years of making sure that offspring is mine.
For sure.
Right? Is the model that we're still working off of, which is
keep all the
ridiculous.
offspring. Don't fucking want them.
Well, but that's the model that's created monogamy and all of those things, right?
Of course.
So there's benefits, or there were historically, and now it's a new time. It's a new time for new things.
Yep.
Yep. All right. Thank you so much, Adam, for being here with us. And Dr. Eddie, thank you so much for your public health perspective and your knowledge on all things. We appreciate you. All right, guys. Until next time, adios.